You know what? Fat people know they're fat. I mean, they wake up in their body, they look at the mirror, they're not unaware. Okay, so you're not doing them a favor by telling them. And if somebody, okay, so this is to explain to thin people
Sure.
how to look at it. So if you have like, you know, a bad hair day, or like, you know, your outfit's a little messed up, you spilled coffee on your shirt, somebody comes and points it out, you're just like, bitch, मेरे को पता है, ये मेरे साथ हुआ है, I saw it happen. This is not helpful.
That's a good way to put it, right? Like if you have coffee stain on you and someone's telling you have a coffee stain, it's like, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's
Alright, 3, 2, 1. Woo! What's up?
Hi.
Hi world.
What's up?
I know, right? What's up?
What is going on?
What is going on? Ishita, I don't even want to do this. Like, what's going on? Like, you're an intense person. You're really cool. I'm so glad I met you.
I'm so glad I met you too.
Yeah. Dude, I want to ask you a question straight away.
Alright, let's do it.
Yeah. Why is it so important for people to be respectful to themselves? In this toxic world that we have, where everyone is telling us what to do in really weird ways without having any empathy and emotion, how do we take care of ourselves? How do you manage to do it? Because we will reveal your story, but man, hey, I think you know something about this.
I think so because the world is so like toxic. I mean, it depends, right? Like, because we're so exposed to everything that is happening. It seems like we just keep getting bad news after bad news because that is all that shows up on the news, right?
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like it gets overwhelming, and if you're not overwhelmed, then it's a problem because then you don't have empathy. So I feel like, you know, we have to make a conscious effort to take care of ourselves, and it's really important to do that because you will just burn out otherwise.
Right.
You know?
We're constantly being bombarded by all this information that we probably need or we don't need.
I don't think we need it, like, you know, because for most part of history, right, we had no idea what was going on. So, like, supposing if I lived in the 1800s, I would only know what was going on in my family, in my village, maybe in, like, my kingdom. But that's it. If I lived in Japan, I don't know what's going on in India.
Right. There was no way to know.
There was no way to know. And, you know, people were relatively happy within their lives because they were like, this is all I know. And this is how things are. So, you know, they just make peace with it. But now, like, you know, I'm sitting here in India. I know about racism that's going on in the United States. I know that, you know, elections are going on. I know that, you know, in Australia there was like the wildfires and everything.
But you also are supposed to know because your university is in the United States. So
It
you
is.
probably do have to know something about the racism scene over there.
I've
You do give
experienced
a
it
fuck,
myself.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how much does it affect your mental health? Because you know what? I just want to bring this out, man. You were a fat fuck. Is that a nice way to put it? Maybe not.
It's not a nice way, but like, it's the truth.
I'm a dumb fuck too, like, yeah.
No,
but
no. I was really fat.
So, like, do you think, like, when you were, how fat were you?
I was 127 kgs when I measured it. So I could have been more than that. I think about 130, 132 I probably would have been. But I
And
remember...
you were 18, right?
Yes.
So were you 18 and on social media and you were fat? Do you think all of that was connected in some way?
I mean, yeah. I don't know about social media, but genuinely, like, because of how stressful school was, and I had a lot of like mental health issues, so I had depression and stuff. So I was on a lot of like medication. And
So that was diagnosed?
Yeah.
Damn, man.
That was diagnosed and I was on a lot of medication, so like maybe 10 or 12 pills a day.
Really?
Yeah, and it was so intense, right? Because imagine what that would do to your body.
Dude, right now I feel this shiver going down my body. Like I feel the sensitivity of somebody being exposed to these medications without them knowing what it does to them. Did you have any idea of what this thing is going to do, like these medications? Like, were you fine with them?
Okay,
Honestly.
so I would trigger warning. I would think about killing myself a lot. And so,
After taking the medications?
before, after, during, everything. I was in a really bad place. So, if somebody came up to me and they were like, hey, this could potentially help you, I didn't care about the side effects. I was like, okay, I might get acne, I might gain weight, but at least I wouldn't feel so shitty. And the thing is, though, with medicine, you have to like try and see what works for you and what doesn't. And in that whole trial and error, it could take forever. It took me like 2 years to find something that made me feel okay and didn't like, fuck my body up completely.
Right. So, can I ask you something? So, when you were diagnosed with depression and anxiety, at the same time, were you obese as well?
I was, yeah. I mean, I wasn't obese, but I was definitely overweight. Like, yeah. I actually
It was
even
like,
told her-
I mean, what I mean to get to is that it was happening at the same time.
It was, yes.
Right. That must be a lot of pressure, right, as an individual.
And it was getting increasingly worse because of the medicines.
Damn, yeah. And it's like a catch-22 situation. So you're trying to
Right.
fix that same diagnosis with medications which are making you feel even worse physically.
Exactly.
So what was that moment in your head that is like, I've had enough of this. I'm probably not going to be taking these medications. And this is not a propaganda against depression medication. Like
It's not, yeah.
it's
If it
not.
helps people,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not a thing. I'm nobody to tell people not to take those benzos or those amphetamines or whatever they give you, man. Those strong ass medications that they give to 19-year-olds like it's candy. But like, dude, it's real. And like, but then at the same time, one has to know that it can make you feel a little.
Oh, it can make your
Off.
symptoms worse. Do you know that? You could feel more suicidal after taking medicines for being suicidal.
Really?
Yeah. It's a side effect.
How does that even make sense? Like, you give somebody a medication for suicide, like they're feeling suicidal, and it can make you more suicidal.
Yeah, because
Then why is that medication required?
So it could go either way, and they just like to place their bets on it going positively. Because what they say is that before you take the medicine, you don't have a lot of energy, but when you get those meds, your energy levels could go high.
Could.
Yeah, could,
Uh-huh.
and that could lead to you actually killing yourself.
What the hell? So you have more energy to kill yourself, what the hell? Oh my god. So, yeah, I mean, what? So, dude. That is so crazy that it actually exists. This is a reality what we're talking about. And so many, I mean, I don't know how many listeners, how many people out there must be going through something like this where they have these medications sitting in their cabinets and their doctor has told them to eat it.
Yeah.
And they might feel worse than they already do. Was it exercising that helped you? I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but at the same time, where was this point in your life where you felt I need to become better?
So
That's what I'm feeling
yeah,
right now.
I'll tell you what it was.
Was it that? What was it?
I was in Boston, okay? It was my first semester of college, and it was the first time I was away from my family, like living on my own, studying, and in a completely new culture, okay? No matter how Americanized we feel like we are, like, going to international schools or whatever, it is completely different to be living there. And,
I have no idea. I went to public schools too. Yeah, with the boys. But anyway, yeah, so.
Yeah, but like, you can't prepare yourself. There is no way for you to prepare yourself for what it's going to be like over there. It was a huge culture shock. And it was the first time I was living on my own, doing my own laundry, everything. So I was in a really bad space and I was still on those medicines and I couldn't cope with any of my classes and it was just going badly. I used to sleep for 14 hours. Now after that I have to clean, I have to do laundry, I have to go to class, I have to, it was very overwhelming. So I was like,
a lot of things on the plate.
yeah, too much. It was too much. And
right. Responsibilities, real responsibilities.
Yeah.
When you're living with your parents is much different than living by yourself.
It's so different, yeah.
Right.
So I was like, I can't sleep for 14 hours and manage everything. So
were you sleeping for 14 hours?
I was because those medicines just...
Holy shit, 14 hours of sleep. Is it like, I mean, one would think that 14 hours makes you more energetic, right? Because you've got your battery recharged, 14 hours of charging. Yeah. But I think we're pretty much like a battery of a phone, right? Like once it hits 100, it probably won't go any further.
And it could go lower. right? Because if you...
And it's not that simple.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Sometimes I oversleep and I feel worse. Because I was like, the right amount of sleep is perfect for you.
Yeah.
Any less and any more is not good. So, yeah, I mean, 14 hours of sleeping, that left me with 10 hours of awake time. And just, I had to finish everything. And I was like, this can't go on. Like...
Right, and then shit, shower, shave, all that basics, that takes time. YouTube takes time. That takes my time. But hey, so you were in Boston, living alone, by yourself, taking care of yourself, and you were sleeping 14 hours. Was it because of these medications?
Yeah, they made me really drowsy.
Damn. Did you talk to your guy who gave you these medicines? Did you tell him?
I did, and he was like, we can change your medicines. But by then it had already been like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of me changing medicines, and I was like, you know what, fuck this. Like, I have waited long enough, I've experimented enough, like, I've been to so many doctors and so many psychologists, and it's just not working. So I quit just cold turkey. I was like, fuck it, I'm not taking this anymore. Which is not advice, because they say that you should lower your dose like slowly and then get
What is they, man?
Doctors?
The same freaking doctors, man, dude. Yeah, but I get your point. So you have to kind of wean off of them in an ideal situation, according to them.
Right.
Them. But you were smart enough to just go cold turkey. For yourself. Like, you know your reality, right?
Yeah.
You won't tell the people to do it the way you did it, probably.
Yeah, but
in terms of these medications only.
Right.
But what matters more is what you did after that.
Right.
Which is to be like, hey, I'm going to face myself.
Yeah, and so I was like looking up things on like the internet. I was like, now I'm not on medicine. That means I have to find other ways to get serotonin and dopamine.
Right.
So I was like,
Them hormones.
Yeah. If I exercise, I'll probably feel better. I would look better also. People would be nicer to me.
Right.
So maybe, that's the way to go.
Right.
And that's how I started working on it.
Were people asshole to you?
Oh,
what's the way to say this? Were people shittier to you when you were fatter?
Definitely. They were so like, it was either like I didn't exist, or if I did exist, they were annoyed that I was there. And it's so stupid because of just the fact that I weighed more and I occupied more space. They just didn't like me. They were like, this is not how a person should conventionally look, and you're not taking care of yourself, and you're not healthy, so you know what, fuck you.
Damn. So much judgment for somebody who's going through so much anyway.
Yeah, and I was, and they were like, it doesn't matter, there was not a lot of empathy when I needed it the most.
Right. And was it from people who were close to you? Was it just general public that you felt like or what was it like? Like, what was it looking at, when people look at you and they kind of make faces, it shows. You just get to know that this person is trying to be an asshole to me. This person is, trying to show me something about myself, and they want to, push me to do something. But at the same time, you know what? Like you had these medications, as you were saying. But I'm trying to find the right sentence here. To say that you worked out helped you would be wrong to people who are going through depression. If you tell them, hey, I think you should probably not be on these medications because they suck, and you should probably take care of yourself because it's going to make you feel better. But when you generally say this to somebody who is going through something, which is very real also, but when you do tell them, you come off as an asshole.
But it's true though.
But
think about it.
Sorry to interrupt, but you have been through it.
Mm-hmm.
You've been through the gamut. So probably your words make more of an impact than mine, because I'm a knucklehead. I'll tell everybody to work out. I'll tell everybody to sleep properly. I'll tell everybody to take care of themselves, because I have high standards of people around me. But when somebody has gone through something so personal as you have, I think it makes more, like, it comes from the right place. So what has your experience been when it comes to just getting to start moving yourself and sweating and
see, I still think that if somebody is in a bad place, you shouldn't push them to do anything, because I know that when I was depressed, there was no way I could have been doing the things that I'm doing right now. Because think about it, like you're constantly thinking about how everything sucks and you kind of want to kill yourself, and somebody's telling you, okay, go out for a walk. And you're like, excuse me, like, there's hell in my head. I'm trying to ignore it. I'm trying to sleep it off. You're telling me to go work out.
Right.
You want hell in my body also. So.
But it's counterintuitive because the walk's going to make you feel better.
Right.
But at the same time, you're trying to not kill yourself. That's very powerful. Someone who's trying to kill themselves and you try and tell them to go exercise.
You're like, this doesn't matter, no? I will probably be dead by next week. Kya fark padta hai?
Right. Who wants a ripped body when you don't even want that body anymore? You just want to go away.
Yeah.
But dude, that's really fucking. It's a very dark spot for a human being to be in, right?
It is. And I was so young, and people around me didn't know how to react to it. So, of course, strangers are mean or weird, but it doesn't really matter because they're strangers, right? You see them once and that's it. But the people that you're living with, your family, your friends, or like teachers, whatever, they're actively in your life and they don't know how to appropriately like react to it, which isn't their fault because nobody's told them ki, aise hota hai and aise karna chahiye, and they're not like trained in this.
Right.
So,
trained in empathy.
Yeah. Trained in empathy and just how to react to situations, how to manipulate them and navigate. So, I don't know, I was really angry for a long time because I was like, these people that I'm trusting, I'm just a child, they should know how to treat me better. But then I realized it's not their fault. Like, they had good intentions, they were trying to do their best. But it just didn't work out. And then I learned to sort of forgive them for it and forgive myself for all the anger. And
how do you keep it so positive?
It takes work.
It takes work, right? It doesn't come naturally. Maybe it does. Maybe it could be a gene thing. Maybe you have something in you that makes you feel brighter about the day than it is at some point in time because you have seen the dark side.
See, I don't know much about the genes thing because I don't know much about biology.
Yeah, I mean, apparently it's a thing that people are more inclined to be depressed because of their parents, like the kind of genes
that's
that they have.
definitely true.
It's a hypothesis out there. But at the same time, I have a feeling one has to have good philosophies about life, man. If you're able to see the bright side in things, it's much better than seeing the dark side, which does exist.
And I'll tell you something, it takes work in the way that, you read something, then you have to tell yourself that this is how it is. And it gets easier with time, but I won't say that it comes to you naturally. Like, you have to coach yourself to be like that.
But you know what, Ishita? You look great at this point.
Thank you.
Fuck all the haters. Screw these guys, man. Yeah, screw them. Because it's great to see you happy. And we met for the first time.
Yes.
And I've met you on the internet. We were dissing the internet, but like the internet's a great place where you can meet people, exchange ideas, and as long as they're real human beings. Like, you've got a lot of freaking trolls out there, who just like, you can't even maintain eye contact or like express their views or something like that. But at the same time, when you do meet someone cool, I was in no doubt to reach out to you, just to talk to you and get to know about your story. Because I read that thing that you wrote about food, having a good relationship with your body and having a good relationship with the food you eat. And that's the key to feeling better and making sure that you have more better days rather than spiraling into something.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
So guilt and shame, that doesn't work at all.
Guilt and shame.
It's horrible.
Damn. Do you think we shame ourselves more than other people shame us?
I think that we learn to shame ourselves because we've heard other people shaming us. So, I feel like I was a pretty confident child. Like, I was like, yay, like, haha, I'm out here doing my thing,
just naturally, you were
just I was
extroverted.
happy. But then people were like, oh, like, look at your cheeks, it's like so chubby, and oh my god, you're such a fat stomach. I remember I was like in KG or first, and like my best friend at the time, she was like, oh, you look like you're pregnant.
Really?
I was 6 years old.
In KG?
Yeah.
How do you even remember that? I don't remember anything from KG. I don't even know if I went to KG. Yeah, but anyway, so you remember that chick saying that to you, that you're pregnant? Were you scared that you were pregnant?
No, of course not.
Okay.
I asked my mom, like, there's no kid inside me, right? She's like, no. I'm like, great.
Right. So yeah, do you still know that friend of yours?
I mean, we're friends on the internet or whatever.
Mm.
But no, but the point is that, you know, I have been made to feel self-conscious all my life. So then you start to, you know, take that into account and you're like, okay, so this is what is wrong with me, this is what I need to be careful about. So to sort of like, you know, protect yourself from judgment from other people, you start to judge yourself. You're like, हाँ, मतलब इसने जो बोला है मुझे already पता है, and I've already felt bad about it. So their like input is not as strong.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we end up judging ourselves so much more.
Yeah.
But because of other people.
It's more external sometimes at the same time. Like when people say things to you, mean things, which they don't even want to say. Like, you know how sometimes people give you compliments on your physical attributes? Like they'll tell you, hey, you look really good. Like, I don't know, like you're so handsome, you're so beautiful, you've got good chest, you've got good breasts, or you've got a nice thick leg, or something that they talk about your physical attributes. I personally get very uncomfortable. I get taken aback. I'm like, is that all there is? Is there something that I did that makes you feel good about me? Or is there something that I've created that you want to tell me about rather than telling me how good looking I am or beautiful someone is? Like, it just makes you a little more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, just complimenting someone on their physical attributes. And when people do that, it doesn't come from the wrong place, but they just haven't been trained enough to treat people the way they want to be treated themselves, right? But human beings, man, we're very complex creatures, continuously trying to make sense of the world around us. As we, crush the weak and try and worship the powerful, we forget that we have to be human to the people around us. And if someone was shitty to you at some point because of the way you looked, or because of the number on your scale, or just the way you were mentioning how you were fat, but you never felt like you couldn't walk around.
Oh yeah.
You were just naturally like a strong, thick person, like, you know.
Yeah, even now, like I have broad shoulders and like I have muscles. If I work out.
Yeah, I saw you picking shit.
Yeah, I'm pretty strong.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was always able to do a lot of like physical exercise. I've always been sporty. Like I used to skate. I went to like state level skating competition.
Really?
I was in judo. I got a silver medal state level. So yeah, I was very sporty.
You were practicing judo?
Yeah.
Dope. Nice.
Yeah.
Isn't that a Korean thing? Judo? But yeah, I don't want to go on a judo tangent here, but that's pretty dope. Dude,
Yeah.
like that you practice judo, and yeah, so you were athletic, sporty, you were doing
I was,
things.
and you know, even in like school races or whatever, when they used to have like the physical fitness check and stuff, people were always taken aback. They were like, "Wow, like she's so fat, but she's outrunning these skinny bitches." So
Yeah, skinny bitches don't hold a candle to your thick ass legs, man. Like, you know, you're getting that Usain Bolt torque.
oh yeah,
And
fuck
then-
yeah. So I remember I was in like my football team, okay.
Really?
School. So I used to wear like this juda thingy over here, like tie my hair back, and they were like, "Oh, dekho, bhag milka bhag."
Uss time pe aayi hui thi?
Huh?
Okay.
I was in 10th.
Okay.
I'm pretty young, guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think when Bhag Milka Bhag came, I remember that movie so vividly because it had a very strong impact on me, dude.
Yeah.
Very strong. I had passed out of school and I remember watching it and I was like, man, I want abs like these, dude. I want abs like Milka Singh and I want to freaking run. Actually, it did have a very strong impact on me because I started running after watching that movie, man.
Oh,
Milka
that's
Singh.
so cool. And so you're still running from that time on?
Yeah, I've just been running. I'm still running.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that movie had a very strong impact on me. So yeah, you played football and your friends. Yeah, what did you do, man? Kick some girls on the leg?
No.
No.
I
So
was-
which position did you play?
Defense.
Defense?
Mm-hmm.
Like center? Like,
I think I was
Right?
left or right. I used to switch.
right. Did you guys win anything?
No. Our team wasn't very good.
Okay.
But I blame my school for it because they used
Sure.
to spend so much time
These
training the
guys.
guys.
I played well.
Yeah! It's your fault, not mine.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so they, like the school always invested in men's sports more than the girls' sports, and you know, we still had a good basketball team for women, but yeah, the football team was a joke. But I still went because it was something I liked to do, so.
Is there something, Ishita, that you would want to say to any girl out there who is suffering with like body issues, just not feeling comfortable, or even food issues. Like there are a lot of, and it's just not just with chicks, but it's also with guys who are like really messing up their diets because of propaganda.
Right. So I think there's a huge narrative around how you should celebrate your body and love yourself and love your scars, and I think it's really, really hard to do that on a daily basis. Like, no one wakes up and they're like, matlab, this is it. I love this.
I love
everything.
me.
Yeah. We're not poor,
Yeah, sometimes it's gloomy out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not like Kareena Kapoor. Who? Kaun hai? Just
That's
mujhe
my favorite
movie mein dekha.
Right, yeah.
So, I think we should focus on body neutrality and just comfort in ourselves. Like,
What is body neutrality?
it just means that you don't have to hate it, you don't have to love it. It just is what it is. It's like a vessel that is taking you around. Your legs are not thin or fat or muscular. They are just things that take you places.
Right.
And your stomach is there to digest the food, so you can be up and running. It's not about like flab or abs or whatever.
The aesthetics don't really matter.
It really doesn't, and you have to ask yourself, like, these people who are telling you to be aesthetic, why are they telling you to be aesthetic? Because they're going to earn money off of it, right?
Right.
So all these gym memberships and everything, they're telling you to hate yourself, because the only way that they'll earn money is because if you hate yourself, you want to change it and you'll invest more money. Same with shaving, for that matter, for women. Like, they tell you that you should be absolutely hairless, but that was all just a scam started by shaving company who wanted to sell more.
Dude, it's insane how much money women spend on vaccines.
It is, yeah.
I actually spoke to some about it, and I was like just shocked. It's like, holy shit! Once a month, you get that thing done on you. Like, you put some wax and they take like 1,000 rupees from you. Damn, girl, that's a lot of money spent on something that doesn't. I mean, I don't know how important it is.
To do what?
To get your hair removed from the body.
It's not. No, it's bad for you. It's bad for you.
How is it bad?
Because your hair, especially on your genitals and stuff,
right.
It's there to protect, your body.
It's a biome. Apparently. Yeah,
look at you talking about genes and bio.
I know, right? I'm talking about all these things. I actually do consider myself like this, but you gotta know about these things, man.
Right, that's true.
If you don't know what a biome is, you're not going to eat the right foods, or you're going to chop all of that thing down in your pubics. But at the same time, you know what? Some girls like it when I have shaved my pubic hair.
Right, but all of that goes back to the aesthetics. Right?
So it's a two-way street, or what do you think it is? Is it like women are pressured to wax their hair out because they themselves want to feel clean, or do they do it for their boyfriends or their partners?
See,
or
I
think
it doesn't matter for whom they're doing it, for themselves or for somebody else. It's the point that why do they feel dirty with their hair on? Like you said the word clean, right? Why do they feel
so
dirty?
Deeply ingrained in my own head that it's clean dirty. Maybe it could be dirty is the clean. Absolutely.
It's just meaningless, no? Like, think about it. If we were in the wild, and we would have hair everywhere.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's for your own protection, no? Like, pubic hair is supposed to keep you away from infections, and same with vaginas. People say that they should smell good and stuff.
Yeah, drink pineapple juice before sex or something like that.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is they're not supposed to smell good. Vaginas are self-cleaning. So you don't need to put some fancy scented products. Don't fucking put perfume down there. It's insane.
Do women do that?
I've heard of people doing that, yeah.
Wow. Putting some chemicals down your old pipe just to make it smell nice? Don't you think that's just covering the symptoms? If your vagina is smelling, maybe it is because there's some infection.
Yeah, you should
rather
definitely.
Rather than trying to coat the smell, maybe go meet a gynecologist.
No, but what I'm saying is, a lot of times, people go to gynecologists and that's what the doctors say. They're like, it is completely fine to have a slight odor. Of course, if it smells really bad.
I think it is natural for these organs to have a slight odor. vaginas have this pungent smell to them. It's not like smelling a mango. You know, it's
And
not
that's
like...
fine. You
Yeah.
know, the expectation for women to smell really good all the time, to not have hair, to, I don't know, have like
Right.
bouncy.
It's such a structural society, just ingrained, being told to us, this is the way it is. Hey woman, you're gonna do these things. Hey man, you have to do these things. And that's the only way you're gonna be accepted
And approved, yeah.
and
That's it.
approved. Yeah, we better find good people for ourselves, man. Rather than like having toxic people who expect these things from us.
See, I don't even blame them. It's not their fault. It's not an individual thing. They're not trying to be toxic. It's just
Right.
that they've grown up in a society where this is how it is. You know, like in our society, we're expected to wear clothes. So you and me are sitting here dressed. But if we were, say, living in another society where it was acceptable to just be naked, we'd be naked.
Yeah. We'll be doing a podcast naked.
Hey.
Maybe we'll do that in the future. Let's just try it out, man. Let's just get caught by the cops and like, oh, look at this YouTube video of the podcast naked.
Censorship, BJP.
Have you seen how Poonam Pandey was attacked and an FIR was filed against her for posting a nude pic on Instagram, while at the same time Milind Soman did the same thing and people are clapping?
He also got an FIR. by
Really?
Yes. Eventually. They were like, इसको भी नहीं छोड़ेंगे, छोड़ो."
इसको भी नहीं छोड़ेंगे तो हाँ basically what is this issue we have to say? I mean the point is even and having said that, even Milind Soman went through a lot of shit earlier. You remember that ad that these guys did where he was completely naked and
It was a beer shampoo thing, right?
it was very old actually,
Yeah.
quite old. Like I actually read his book. That's how I remember all the shit. But like it's a really provocative ad, and these guys went through a lot of shit for that ad. But at the same time, what is it about? As you picked this up, why can't being naked could be counterintuitive? Like could be a problem as well because it's cold outside. So you know it's probably good that we have clothes. But at the same time, why are we so like uncomfortable when it comes to looking at somebody else when they're naked? Like, you know, if you take your clothes off right now and I look at you naked, I'll be slightly uncomfortable.
Right.
And vice versa, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty okay.
Is
with
it like
it.
the Adam and Eve? Alright,
Yeah,
is it like the
yeah.
Adam and Eve thing? Like, is it the sacred apple, like looking at someone's genitals and just being a little like, ooh?
I don't know. I don't think it's just about it being sacred because I think it also has to do with guilt and shame, like I said, you know, and just you should be covered up and people are just offended by your body. Let's take dress for an example, right? So it's perfectly okay for a guy to be shirtless, but it's not okay for me to be shirtless. Why?
Yeah. It's so weird, right? Even on Instagram, if a girl posts a picture of her titties, it's taken down.
It is, yeah, and you know,
It's the weirdest shit ever.
yeah,
I
like,
post my titties all the time.
great titties.
Yeah, thanks. But like, why the fuck can a girl post it? If she has great titties, they should be out there.
Definitely, and
Maybe.
it's like a secondary sexual characteristic, okay? It's not my genitalia. I understand if genitalia is like not allowed on Instagram or anywhere else. Like, I don't want
It
to
could
see it.
slightly be pornographic.
Yeah,
Right.
but you know, boobs are just boobs. They're like a storage of fat and they have like mammary glands and it's a sexual, like secondary sexual characteristic.
And it's so weird, like everybody sucked on them. Everybody.
Yes.
Every human being on this earth, including guys, have sucked on titties. As long as you've had a mama. I mean, I'm pretty... Hey man, if you don't have a
Yeah,
mother...
if you're
if
orphan, we're
orphan
sorry.
and you've not sucked on titties, I'm sorry, but like everybody else has. And yeah, but we're like super weird about these things, man. Like, you know how you like, I'm not wanting to take this in weird realms.
Directions.
Yeah, but like, there's so many things that we make things taboo, and I think we should just talk it out within ourselves, like mature adults.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So, dude, Ishita, how much has writing helped you with all of this? Because I have, that's the way I got connected with you. Like, read your writing and it was so powerful.
Thank you.
Yes, you're super articulate with your words. Yeah, you understand the economy of words. I have a feeling. You write really well. And yeah, I mean, how much has writing helped you with coping with just life in general?
I think it's really helped me a lot because it helps me put things down, right? So I understand how I actually feel about it. And I look back at the sentence and I'm like, is this exactly what I'm trying to say? Is this what I'm trying to convey to people? So it helps me get a clearer idea of what my ideas are.
Right.
So that is one thing. It's always been therapeutic to me also. So like I've been in therapy for 5 or 6 years, and a lot of times my therapists have told me that you should write a diary and see how you actually feel about stuff, because when things are inside your head, they're really jumbled up. But when you put them down on paper, it sort of helps you see, like, this is.
Did it come naturally to you? Did they give you a template, or what's the writing process like? Because a lot of people, including me, when I start writing, I get very self-critical.
Right. So here's the thing. What I think you should do is just write without thinking about how it's sounding. And edit in another hour or in another space. So don't edit out anything. Just write whatever comes to your mind. It could be absolute bullshit, it could be brilliant, but it's not your job to edit it then.
Right.
You should be critical of your work in another space. And you always don't need to be critical, okay? Because sometimes you're just writing and it's practice. It's a skill essentially you develop over time, and I have been writing for a long time. I mean, I was doing poems and stuff when I was 6 years old, and...
Right. I actually wanted to read that stuff that you wrote about the food thing, like just having a good relationship with the food. I'm going to open the browser and find Instagram and find your post, but I should be ready with this, but it's not. But at the same time, man, when you were losing all of that weight, when you were shedding all of that weight, did you feel like any sort of discomfort? Were you working on a diet? Did you write things down? Were you talking to nutritionists? What was your schedule like? And how did you bring in exercise? Like, as you said, you were into like sports and stuff as a kid, but then how did you like think of, hey man, like let's just use exercise instead of these pills?
So yeah, like I've always been sporty, right? So I knew the kind of exercises they do to keep you in shape. So I used to like run on the treadmill a lot. I used to have targets, like, so what I did was...
Treadmill running? Yeah. Smart.
I've heard it's bad for your knees, but I'm not sure because my knees
that's
are
what it
fine.
is. I mean, yeah, these are excuses. You have a treadmill run. That's what it's made for.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, if you have good shoes, it helps.
Yeah, of course, that's
But you know what I really like for treadmill running? Just running barefoot.
Really?
Yeah, it's the best.
Aren't you scared about the friction, like, hurting your soul?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done it, honestly speaking, but just the thought of it makes sense. If you have a personal treadmill and you run barefoot on it, I think it makes sense. Because like there's something about, I run barefoot outside in the parks or something like that.
That's very different, yo.
Yeah, it's very different. But I think it makes sense to do it on a treadmill as well. Because like you have that perfect posture of your ankle that hits the ground and you kind of like run on your toes.
But the friction, no, won't it hurt?
I don't think so. But maybe. Yeah, you could be right. But you did your treadmill running. That's
good.
Yeah. See,
yeah.
Nice.
So, you know what I used to do? Like, I did not like running for a long period of time. Like, I know people who just run for 30 minutes and I'm like, how are you doing this? Like, I am out of breath. I just want to stop. So, what I did was I gave myself goals.
Right.
So, like, 100 calories whenever I burn, I just stop. I take a 5-minute break, I go drink water, fuck around, look at hot people in the gym, then come back and do another 100 calories. So, and I used to put my treadmill on incline. So I used to put it on 15 or 20, depending on whichever the maximum was allowed. Because that makes you like, lose calories faster instead of like running.
Right, so just short bursts of exercises and doing them on a regular basis.
Yeah. No, I was really obsessed at this one point. I remember I was in the gym for 2.5 hours of just doing short bursts and like taking 2-minute, 3-minute breaks. I burnt 1,000 or 1,200 calories.
Damn, bro.
That's a lot. Like,
that's a lot. It's a lot. Dude, for people who haven't burned 1,000 calories, it might have taken you a lot of time, but at the same time, it would have drained the shit out of you, dude. Like,
but I felt so accomplished. I was like,
if you run on the treadmill for 40 minutes, it burns somewhere around 300 to 400 calories. Right. But like, you got addicted to the feeling.
I was
That's
like,
powerful.
I'm doing it today.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how much ever time it takes, I'm gonna do it.
Man, it's so good that how did it come to you? That's what I'm actually trying to understand. How did this, because when you try and explain this to a friend, like, this is how you feel when you burn 1,000 calories, bro. You gotta do it, you gotta feel it, man. Once you feel that feeling of your body actually moving and you're able to feel better, your aerodynamics become better, the way you see the world changes, literally changes.
And you feel so much happier. It's just like, wow, garden ho gaya.
Right, when you finish a workout and you lay down on your bed.
Yeah. Like, you know, blood is pumping all over.
Yes,
You
that
can
good
feel your
juice
muscles.
flowing through your
Yes.
legs, you know, that recovery juice. Yeah. And you sleep better, you're happier around people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the smart thing, I think what you did was, were you sore a lot of times? No, because you were doing short bursts of exercises. So you didn't hit yourself to the limit. Is that the thing? I'm not putting words in your mouth. Or were there days where you were just like, hey, I've just worked out too much today and I want to take a 3-day break?
I was really scared of doing that because I was like, if I take a 3-day break, it'll become a 5-day break, it'll become a month break, then I'll stop doing it altogether.
Yeah.
So I was making a conscious effort to go every day, if not twice a day. And
So you just went 7 days a week like David Goggins.
I mean,
And no,
I
but
take a...
you know what? It makes complete sense because, you know, sometimes people ask me, how can I start working on it? I'm not the fittest guy, but I do understand something about exercising. So where one can start is, instead of, say, if you can do 10 push, if I put a gun to your head and I ask you, Rishita, you gotta do 10 pull-ups today. Or no, you gotta do pull-ups till you can. And you end up doing 7. So I would make you do 2 pull-ups, but every day. Instead of hitting that 7 and being sore in your arms, let's just bring it up to 3, do it for a week, then bring it to 4. Just that compounding effect of exercise is a great way to start.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of people just start getting sore. Like they
And
don't.
that is completely natural. Of
It's
course,
natural,
you're
yes.
using your muscles is gonna hurt.
But then at the same time, they push really hard, or their
Yeah.
trainers make them push really hard.
Oh
which I
man,
feel.
fuck the trainers.
Did you have a trainer at any point?
Yeah,
Oh,
I had
Lord.
a trainer until last week and I fired him recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He was very emotionally attached to my results and like my weight hadn't been moving for a couple of weeks, so he was like, "Aapko ho hi nahi raha, like aap khana band kar do," and I'm like, "Listen to."
Really?
Yeah, I was like, "I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
sure.
do this."
Why the fuck are you asking me to stop eating? This is, you know, this is exactly what I wanted to ask you at some point. This is toxic when you ask human beings to not eat food that they deserve. If you're worked out, go eat that eclair. Just, if you really want to, go eat that piece of cake. Just eat that plate of pasta. Like,
Right.
if someone's telling you not to do these things because you're gonna get fat again, I mean, there's good possibility, but like, we should pig out sometimes, like, you know.
And I'll tell you another thing. This makes me think of how, like, you know, people think that you should earn a cake, or you should, you know, reward yourself, or like you're punishing yourself by doing exercise. This is a very toxic way of thinking about the whole situation.
What's your take on it?
I think, you know, do what you want. Like, of course, you have to be careful, do everything in balance, and
Right, just to play devil's advocate, if you have to just do what you want, and I'll get up in the morning, I'll eat cake for breakfast, and I will
but
eat
do you feel good about it after? Do you feel energetic? Do you feel like you can go about your day performing your best?
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
if I have to be honest with you, you know, if I just have to continue playing devil's advocate, which a lot of people do, man, when you ask them to like get their shit together in this diet sphere, like diet sphere is a hard conversation. It's a very hard conversation to have, not just with other people, but with yourself as well.
Right.
It's so tough. Like, you know, one of my sins is these Bengali sweets. Like, dude, I had a tray of these Bengali...
Rasgulla?
Actually, not Rasgulla. I don't like that. I like the... Man, what are those? It's called...
Sandesh.
Sandesh, yes! Ishita, damn, man. You freaking cerebral chick. Like, big brain time. Yeah, big brain time. Yeah, Rasgulla, not Rasgulla. Like these Sandesh, man. I think I devoured an entire box of these Sandeshes in the past 2 days. And I was like, man, I need to fucking work out now. That's the thing, right? Because when you do eat this crap, you kind of get into this toxic thought of I should be able to deserve it the next time it comes. I
Yeah,
should
and
be
you
able
just
to work
use
it
the
out.
word sin, right? It's not sin to eat anything. You're not killing anyone.
What about a
Relax.
McDonald's burger? Like if you eat a
Oh,
McChicken,
yeah.
isn't that a sin?
I don't know if it's sin, but it's basically eating trash.
Mm.
I'm very anti McDonald's.
Right. What if there's a guy who's like he's super interested in you and wants to take you out and he takes you out to a McDonald's?
I won't go out with him again. I know.
What if he's a really good guy?
If he's a really good guy, he would try and find out what I want, right? He wouldn't just take me to fucking McDonald's. What? I'm gonna eat French fries with you now? Seriously?
Yeah, that makes no sense. But I found your thing, dude. I found the thing that you wrote,
Okay.
and it's in a very small font, but I'm just gonna go at it, right?
Yes.
So, Ishitatrika, body positivity and fat acceptance helped me get fit. Yes, it sounds entirely counterproductive to most folks I know who don't spend a lot of time on the internet. But I moved to the US and changed for some of the things I followed on the internet, and it completely shook my life. I saw fat women and
Femmes.
femmes. What's femmes?
Femmes are like, maybe they're guys, but they just, have femininity in them.
Right.
Or like they're trans,
Right. Okay. Women and femmes wearing whatever they wanted to and being unabashedly vain, and it thrilled me. Wow. You don't see these people around in India?
I do, but it's really hard to find them because, again, India is so oppressive to do with fat phobia and everything.
And there aren't too many options for plus size people.
Oh my god, do not get me started. So, most stores don't have plus size clothing at all. Okay? And if they do, it's like you're wearing a tent. They put no structure into their clothes, yeah. It's like blanket ही पकड़ा दिया मुझे.
Very good tent.
Yeah, it's massive.
I've never heard that sentence in my life, but anyway. Yeah. When you have feelings of shame and guilt to do with your body, it starts with a cycle of punishment, longing, starvation, and desperation. This is not how you can make a lasting positive change to your life, to yourself. This is not a healthy mindset. This is a really good paradigm. Fuck. Once you let go of hating your body for what it is, you begin to appreciate it for what it can do. And then you begin to test its limit, build stamina, build strength, build a greater love for it. Food isn't good food or bad food, it's value neutral. You look for balance and nothing extreme, just consistent care for yourself. Powerful. I want you to explain this though. What do you mean when you say food isn't good or bad food, it's value neutral? What is that?
I mean, so how we were talking about eating sandesh, for example, right?
Sandesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know how you call it sin? It's not sin. It is just food. You don't have to look at it as something wrong you did or something right you did. You have to think about what your body needs. So, I get it, like you ate a couple of sweet things. Now think about what else you need to fill in your body, right? You need some protein, so go eat some protein. You need vegetables, think about that.
Right.
But if you
Maybe some fiber to get that shit out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Good point.
Oh my god.
Anti-constipation.
I'm obliged, man. I don't want my fiber. But,
Right.
yeah, so.
So, yeah, I mean, because people eat a couple of things that they think they weren't supposed to. They think that, aaj to diet kharab ho gayi, so I'm going to pig out the entire day. So what ends up happening is that you're just treating your body like trash. It's not about one day. It's not about Monday se shuru karenge. It's that every day you do what you want and then you work around that.
Wow. Yeah. That happens with me and people all the time. Like when you eat something trash, you just cancel the day.
Yeah, you're like, it doesn't matter now. I ate
Right. I eat some sandesh. I can go eat some
McDonald's.
Oh my god, man. I think I was telling you that I came from a small town to Delhi in my 6th grade. And when I did come to Delhi, I went to McDonald's. Like my mamu took me to McDonald's for the first time. And I was so happy. I was the happiest kid. I was like, I love my mamu for taking me to McDonald's. This place is like heaven. Yeah, but that's the thing. Capitalism. That's shit food going through my system.
Oh man, I've seen some documentaries about McDonald's, what they put into it, and I've really...
Is it What the Hell? No, what? No, is it some PETA documentary or what is it?
I have seen some PETA documentaries also, but yeah, I mean, I know way too much about McDonald's to eat McDonald's anymore.
But I want to get to the most. I would want you to no, fuck it, because if I move the laptop, it's gonna get screwed. So this is the most freaking hitting part of your write-up here, which is it says, "Stop shaming people, man. Stop shaming people. It has never worked. Doesn't work right now, and it will not in the future. Be so intensively kind that people want to look after themselves and fall in love with their bodies, minds, and souls." Isn't that powerful? I don't know. You wrote it, but it is powerful. Man, this is the same topic, right? When does fat shaming really help?
I
When
don't
you
think
tell
it
people
does.
that, hey, you're so fat. Like, you know what? I used to tell this to a friend of mine who I met recently. Not recently, last year I met him in November. And he was in Mumbai working for Viacom, and he was like really, really fat at that point. He got really fat. I think he was 107 kg or something like that. And I remember playing tennis with him, and tennis was his passion. So I told him, bro, like, you're playing well right now, but you used to be much better. He's like, yeah, bro, I'm really dealing with a lot of weight issues and stuff. I was like, man, just don't be fat. Like, I actually yeah, like,
It's not that easy,
it was stupid of me, like, you know, I'm a dummy. That's why I call myself a dummy, because I say things like these to
Hey,
people.
no self-deprecation allowed in this house.
Alright,
Yeah.
okay, alright. But like at the same time, man, I feel, but he did get his shit together. And now he's
No, but I can tell you it's not because you told him that he looked fat. and
Yes,
got it.
no, I think I was not the good person he needed in his life at that point. I was the that makes sense.
So it's not
Did you
helpful.
just come up with this analogy or like?
You know, I thought about it a lot because I talk to thin people all the time, and it's so, I mean, it's so different to talk to a thin person versus somebody who's been fat and maybe become thin now, because they don't understand what it's like to be fat. Everybody is hyper aware of their body. Oh, like there's obviously more than insecure of their body because they're fatter. So you saying to them that, hey, like you've put on a couple of kilos or pounds or whatever, not helpful. But it's also, have you noticed that, you know, those people who inspire you to be better, they're not the ones who are telling you you're bad. They're the ones who are celebrating their own body.
Right.
Have you noticed that?
Yes.
Like, I mean, those like, you know,
Absolutely.
yoga people who are like, hey, like meditation, and they're like wearing like a sports brand, like leggings and doing handstands or
Yeah,
whatever.
they're like balancing on their dicks. Yeah, just like swinging in the air, like they're like walking on their toes. You know.
I mean,
They
what?
can-
Walking on their toes?
I mean, I don't know. People do all kinds of stuff in yoga, man. Like, yeah, you will see a person walking upside down on the street, and yeah,
Yeah, so
you know that's a yoga person.
Right.
They're walking upside down. Like they have like legs on their heads. Like, so, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, you were saying.
So yeah, so I mean, they're all like Om Shanti, love yourself, acceptance, and that is what, I mean, to me, feels like a good space to be in.
Right.
You know, those are the people who inspire me to be better. Not the people who are yelling at me like, hey, तुम मोटी हो गई हो, खाना बंद कर दो.
Right. सबसे ज़्यादा कहाँ से आता है? Like, does it come from family? Does it come from friends? Does it come from social media? What do you think?
I mean, I think it comes from everywhere. It comes from fucking everywhere, okay? Even, you know, strangers come up to you and say that, people you haven't met in years are suddenly commenting on your body, people you see every day are telling you.
What about those beta guys who hit you up now? Oh yeah, you should oh my god, look at you! You hot thing!
It's,
I
man,
mean, we did talk about it, and
We did,
we did
yeah.
talk about it, and
I'm just a little hesitant
sure.
to talk about it here because I feel like, you know, it is the internet and these guys are gonna. But okay,
These guys,
whatever.
man,
You know,
screw them.
yeah, screw it. I'm gonna
Who cares
talk
about
about
these
it.
guys?
Right, so you know, I was friends with a lot of guys. I mean, I've been a very extroverted person, so I have a lot of friends. So you know, these people that I grew up with, I've known for years. They were like, "Haan, tu to mera bro hai, bro," and like, it was pretty platonic the entire time. And then suddenly I lost weight and I started to look different, and they were hitting me up and they were like, "Hey, we've always liked you so much. We've always like thought you were very attractive, and we want to get together." So I was like, Please don't lie to me.
Get together. Who uses that line anymore?
I'm trying to be.
I get that. But yeah, I get that. So, dude, isn't it weird when your friends try and hit on you? Like people who've been your friends for the longest time and now they're interested in you?
Yeah, I mean,
That must be a little like a weird
still,
zone to be in, right?
It's still
I don't know.
okay.
I think it's a great proposition to date your friend because you already have that level of comfort with them. So you know when you do go out with them, it's more comfortable
It is.
rather than meeting somebody new and like you just like try and peel the layers off of them and see if they're not full of shit. But with your friends, you kind of understand them better. So dating them might not be the worst idea. But that's not the point here. That's not the point here.
I understand that you're attracted to me now. That's okay. You want to take me out? Fine. But don't tell me that you've always been attracted to me. Because if you were always attracted to me, why didn't you say something earlier?
Right. That's because you didn't get an erection at that point, looking at you.
So then why are you saying that you were into me? Then that's a lie. No, that's exactly what I'm saying. Don't lie to me.
Lies.
Be upfront.
Yeah. Especially about love interests, man. Like, do you think there's value in just being honest? If that person.
Oh man, I'm so honest. I'm always honest about whatever I can be, except for my feelings.
Right. Do you like when you buy stuff from the market and when your parents ask you how much this is for, so you reduce the price and tell them?
They will know no because they gave me the money.
Dude, is that the reason you hate capitalism?
Well,
I don't want to put you on the wrong spot to start this conversation with, but at the same time, yeah, your thoughts were very fascinating, man. I'm not even sure if I want to get into this debate with you because you know your points really well, and I'm someone who listens more and I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, there are very important aspects of being competitive in the market and all that shit. But
yeah, we can do that maybe another time.
100%.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be right now. I love speaking to you at this point. I'm loving this vibe that we have.
This is great.
Yeah. And it's like I'm getting to know you like on an exponential level, like you know.
This is very intense, yeah.
It is intense, right? It's a little like
too
too intimate, like it's
Yeah.
super intimate. We're looking into our eyes. I'm not looking to get anything from you in terms of like clickbait or something like that. I really want you to express yourself, and I want to just understand where you came from and how you've become this great person that you are at this point. And I know you have so much more to climb. Like there are so many like muscles to develop and like books to write and like write-ups to write and.
Oh, I have huge dreams, man.
Yeah. What are the dreams like? What do you want to manifest for yourself?
So I definitely do want to write a book. I want to potentially
do it. 100%. Great dream.
And I want to maybe like act and model.
Yeah.
Let's see.
We did that, right? We went
out. Oh my god.
Yes. We were so cool.
Yeah.
We were like bosses in there. We walked
in. Photo khicha ke aa gaye.
But that was fascinating, man. I love those lights. But so you do want to write a book. And I read some of your writing. Do you want to read that out for people who are listening?
Sure.
Yeah, man. I think that was a really powerful write-up over there. It's a little long, but guys, if you do listen to the words are really powerful. And they're like super clear. Yeah.
It's pretty precise.
Take the stage. Tell us about it.
So, this is untitled as of now. But this is how I feel.
Absolutely. This is what matters the most, what you feel. This is what this podcast is about. This is what this whole life is about. Mm-hmm. I want to know how you feel. I want to know. Yeah.
So let's do it.
Let's do it. We can do it.
I liked being the other woman, I think. I felt more in control. Nobody was cheating on me and I thought that meant I was emotionally protected. But was I? Did I not feel guilt whenever I saw happy pictures of him and his girlfriend? She looked bored in most of their pictures. Tired. Like being with him had drained her completely. Maybe she'd be relieved that there was someone else putting up with his nonsense so she wouldn't have to do that all the time. I could imagine us talking to each other about him. Are you seeing this? She would ask me, frowning in disbelief at what he's saying to her. I shake my head in disapproval. We give each other a knowing look. The kind of look parents exchange when their kid breaks another vase. I pick up the shreds of glass in silence while she gives him a stern talk about how he shouldn't put his hands where they don't belong. Did I feel like I was a bad feminist when I hid from her? But why was it up to us to never make messes and to clean up other people's messes and accept all of this responsibility so graciously? I just want to be a dick sometimes. Loyalty to women is almost as hard as loyalty to men. Thank God that it made at least a little bit more sense. He was a fitness trainer, by the way. Well built, obviously, and tall. He had the kind of pretty face that made you think he had to try harder than the average looking men to make you listen to him. He spoke in a way that was very posh, very proper. He looked like he was trying really hard to maintain his composure but was actually really mad at everything all the time. Maybe that's why his girlfriend looked so drained. I mean, I didn't really have any small talk with him, so I don't know. But that's just because he didn't leave any room for that. He just got straight to the point about how he wanted to see my tits. I could only hope that he put in more effort and romance when he talked to her. Of course, I know I'm not the only girl other than his girlfriend that he's talking to. He was an opportunist and could smell low self-esteem from miles away. He made every naive woman feel like she was special. I didn't want to admit myself yet that this was a self-esteem problem. I just felt like I wasn't ready for the perfect thing yet. I needed more bad experiences where I could fuck things up and learn from my mistakes. This was a cop-out. This was a low-stakes connection. I wasn't expected to invest because clearly he wasn't investing either. I didn't trust myself to be with somebody that was good for me because I had years of experience telling me that when things are too good to be true, it usually is. That was probably a problem that was glaring right at me in the face, but I was completely blind to it. So I'd rather deal with people whose problems were at least obvious to me. I can deal with whatever if I know what to expect. He lived in another city and offered to take a trip down here to see me. A trip to Delhi is due, he told me. I wondered when he'd come, but I didn't want to press him too much. He probably had a lot of logistics to work out. He had to schedule it in a way that he met all of his side chicks at least once and then leave room to re-meet the ones that he really liked. I like to forget about things like this and be pleasantly surprised in case they actually happen. I had a feeling it was going to be a little bit awkward. Like I said, not a lot of pleasantries exchanged. What do I even say to him? Nice dick. 5-star rating truly. Chef kisses. Clap clap. Just thinking about this was boring me. I think men often forget that women are not like them. We need more stimulation other than just visual and physical. Then again, sometimes I just couldn't be asked to listen to say what they have to say. Just show me your dick, bro. Let's get this over with. I'd probably leave his hotel room and text the girls about how useless this entire ordeal was. I mean, he was decent enough, but was that enough? The girls and I take comfort in our mutual dissatisfaction with our lives. Our group chat is just us talking about our disappointments and the occasional cheer for when one of us gets randomly lucky for a while. And when I say that they get lucky, I mean that they got lucky with how conveniently things are going for them. Not that they got laid. Sex was usually followed by a string of bad luck for most of us. Men finally saying what they mean now that they've slept with you. Women were burning out of ambition really quickly and realizing that convenience was the most sustainable option to run on. We were starting to make peace with the fact that we only have petty things and cheap thrills left to entertain ourselves. So we sleep with guys with girlfriends, we get on fad diets that work super well only for 1% of the population. We water down our parents' booze after taking a couple of secret shots and we hope for revolution to come.
Ishita Trika, right here, guys. That was powerful. Nice. Good stuff. You can write.
I try.
100%. Like that was, some of the things are so relatable in this story, but at the same time they're so powerful because you're going on a general over base, like you're looking at people from a vantage point almost, like how you talked about. I don't want to discuss the points of this writing, but at the same time something about how women are sometimes disappointed.
Oh, they're always disappointed, let me tell you.
How can guys do better? Do you think it's an India thing or what is it?
Oh, overall, listen, white guys are the worst.
Okay.
It's like, I'll tell you something, men have a very selfish way of looking at everything. You know how we're talking about the whole McDonald's thing. If the guy is truly interested in me, he'll try to see what I want, not just what he wants to do, right? He will ask me how I want to be treated. He will ask me where do I want to go, what do I want to do.
Right.
But no, men just, they're like, come over, we'll fuck, then you fuck off, please.
Right. There's a lot more to intimacy than sex.
There is.
There is. The thing that gets somebody turned on about somebody is not just the size of their dick or the size of the, or a girl's tits, or you know how much someone's attractive in the physical sense, but when you actually have to be around them and listen to their crap.
Yes. Oh my god.
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah. I can tell you honestly, I've never looked at somebody's genitals and been like, wow.
Yeah.
Because they're just genitalia. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't matter to me what that looks like.
Yeah.
If you treat me well, if you make an effort to please me, that is what's more important than, you know, how big your dick is.
Right. Absolutely. I don't think the size of the dick has anything to do with like how much your woman loves you or how much your guy loves you, or like even if you're gay, you know, like if you're gay, bro, I have no problems.
I'm bisexual.
Yeah, go for it, get those dicks. But yeah, like the size of the genitals, that's why we're like super, you know, conscious about how, you know, these things. Guys are sometimes like, when a young guy will measure his dick at least 7 times a year.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm coming up with the 7 times a year.
Yeah,
It could be 7 times a day for all it matters, right? For young people, like especially who are like really into pornography.
Oh my
honestly,
god, porn is the worst, guys. I can't.
Yeah, this.
Even,
I mean, I've stopped watching porn personally.
I'm so proud of you.
I don't watch porn.
I'm so
and I don't do it for any reason other than myself, because I really want to enjoy women when I'm around them. As a straight
it's so
male,
true, yeah.
when I'm with women, I want to enjoy the experience rather than being stimulated by something that's coming off of a screen.
Exactly.
It takes away from the real experience.
It does, because, you know, sex is very different from what porn makes it out to be.
Yeah.
It is so different.
Exponentially different.
So much that happens when you're with somebody. It's like all the awkward moments are cut out in porn. The whole conversation about what you like, what you not like, consent. Oh my god, consent. So I read this like news article about how this guy basically raped this girl, and you know, in school. This was happening in a school. So the teacher went up to him and she was like, yo, what the fuck? Like, why did you do that? He was like, I just thought that is how women behave when they're having sex. Because that's all he saw in porn. Right? Because people are so violent against women, and their women are shown to be reluctant and like, but that's not how it is, you know.
And it's so weird because these boys, they're boys, right? Someone's in school, that's a boy.
Yep.
But boys are weird because they have men's strength, but they have the brain of a chimp. You know, like, and they're watching porn, and they're like spending all of their time on the screen, especially with the coronavirus lockdown. I'm pretty sure so many guys' libidos are gonna get screwed, man. All that cum is just gonna flow through the brains of this player. That's a very vivid, weird way to put it, but like, yeah, pornography is weird, man.
It's so bad. Honestly, the best thing you can do is stop watching porn altogether. It will change your sex life. It will change how you view women.
Yeah.
Because, dude, so much of the porn is so violent.
It is.
And I'm like, that girl is clearly not having a good time. What are you talking about? Are you seeing that?
Right. And there's something weird about getting excited by somebody else's experience. You know, like if I see a couple having sex on the screen, it might have really excited me a few years back, but like when I think about it now, it just makes me feel a little disgusted by myself. And you know, when I am with a girl and I'm on a date and I'm experiencing her as a real person, like I'm able to, when you really stare at someone for too long, not even stare, when you make eye contact with somebody for a long period of time, you start to see them in a different way, like their face changes, you start to see the curves, you start to see the scars, you start to see their angles, like you start to see the imperfections that make them so beautiful. While you're there at the same time, because you're trying to experience that person. And when, say if they touch you, say if that girl touches me on my leg, I get this sense of like a shock going through my body, and I want to feel that. It kind of gets lowered when I'm regularly watching pornography, and I felt it. I'm not saying this theoretically. I had one job. Don't fucking put your phone on airplane mode. Like, I think I've done this a lot of times on my podcast. But anyway.
Is this running right now?
It is running. Yeah, but dude, this was fun. You know how long have we been recording? About 1 hour 10 minutes, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think we can cut this out now. This is the first time we're talking. We'll do this again.
Yes, I'm so
100%.
into it.
Yes. Let's just keep getting more life experiences, think about more things, let's keep stimulated so that we'll bring you on again. I'll try my best, you know, and it's good fun. It's good fun with you, you know. You're a smart person, you are experiencing a lot in your life, you have so much more ahead of you, and I'm so excited for you.
Thank you, Naman.
Yeah.
You're a cutie.
Thank you. I mean, that's cute. But anyway, signing out of the freaking Nankovers podcast, guys. How can people find you, Ishita? You want them to find you?
Yes.
Yes.
Always find me.
Yeah, so find Ishita on Instagram.
My handle is Ishipishi. There is a lot of I's in there, so it's at IISHIIPIISHII.
It's Ishita, so they can find you on Ishita.
Yes, Ishita Trikha. Just look me up online.
Yeah, Ishita Trikha, and subscribe to the Nankovers podcast if you haven't already. What are you waiting for? Yes, do it. Anyway, guys, signing out. Much love. Bye bye.
That was fun.
Every time I do always I do like this wind in my sort of.
I always make it hard for myself by not putting my phone on air.
I've been getting stoned at my home in the zone. I've been smoking dope when I'm broke, even when it's so cold and I'm soaked. I just sit and hope for the snow. Homie got coke for the low. I just sit and toke on the road with the gold that I sold for the soul. I don't wanna no show, but I hope that the show's dope. And I smoked and I don't wanna go. I don't wanna go. I don't remember what we talking about. That's a lot of G, but I didn't leave the house out. He said, she said, who the hell we calling out? Lost a lot of steam, but I be getting hot now. Beach Nissan shit, one day I'll be balling out. Rain keeps falling, but I ain't gonna stop now. You keep saying what you going on and on about. Need a little something with the vibe, let the just leave me alone. I've been getting